We're live.
Okay. At this time, I'll call to order the Tipp City Exempted Village School meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Wow.
It's like a snow globe.
Yeah.
It's like a shake up snow globe.
All right, Mr. Stevens, will you call attendance?
Mrs. Drum,
Here.
Mr. Maines. Here. Mrs. Zakor.
Here.
Mrs. Dunaway.
Present.
Mrs. Heatherly.
Here.
All present accounted for. We have a quorum and can continue.
All right, let's start with new business. The first item of business is the storm shelter intent. I need a motion for approval for the school district to indicate that they do not wish to move forward with the inclusion of a storm shelter.
I'll move that or make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right. Moved by Mr. Maines and seconded by Mrs. Heatherly. Is there any discussion? Okay.
Did anybody have any discussion?
Yeah. No.
It's a couple $1 million, right? If you do
$2 million.
Still it or
Yeah.
install it, yeah.
I didn't know if you all had discussed it previously or if they were doing this.
Not-
Just
Not
with
a
you,
great
just with Garvin Miller at the last
Yeah.
meeting. That was pretty much it.
Surface.
Yeah.
Okay,
Do you have any other?
no.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, I just thought based on everything that was kind of mentioned at the last meeting, having to add it to the other school was just gonna add more money, so. All right, at this time, we'll take a vote.
I could try to start phone stuff later. Okay, Mr. Maines.
Yes.
Mrs. Heatherly.
Yes.
Mrs. Drum.
Yes,
Mrs. Dunaway.
No.
Mrs. Zakor.
Yes.
motion passes. All right, next is our bond counsel services. I'll need a motion to approve of Vicar Graydon LLP bond counsel engagement letter agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Maines, seconded by Mrs. Dunaway. Is there any discussion?
I do have a quick question.
I do too, but Rick went first. so-
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Rick-
I
Rick-
don't have any questions.
Okay,
Go ahead.
okay,
Yeah.
Mrs. Dunaway.
Yeah, so I guess it's the Dave or Mr. Moran thing, the fee of 100,000 to 125. Is that based on a percentage? Is there any negotiating in that number? How do these companies establish that number? Is it like a realtor fee or?
Yeah, I believe it's not a percentage. I
Okay.
believe it's based on the time that it would take to complete the document.
Paperwork.
We've got the bond issues, we have the special needs designation that we're looking at later. And going through and reviewing all of the bond issuance paperwork as well.
Gotcha.
We did check around and this is kind of standard. It has a little bit of an increase in cost because of the bond issuances that we have used them for previously and they have not billed us for
Okay.
and we never went forward. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, when the bond didn't pass, everything stopped.
Mhm.
And they never billed us for that. So
Yeah.
it is slightly higher, but it is not outside the realm of other firms. So.
Well, Matt's been with our district for as long as I've been here and he does a good job. We haven't had any complaints. He's professional, files everything as he should.
Mhm.
I feel like he gives you good, whenever you call, he takes your call and he's always available.
Yep. And when I called another firm, they asked if I was with Matt or if I was with Becky Princehorn, who is another bond counsel with Ricker.
Yeah.
And so they know who Matt is.
Oh, sure.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's definitely established a name for himself in the industry.
Mrs. Dunaway, anything else?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Mrs. Zakor?
No, that was gonna be my question.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
All right. Hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on the motion.
Mr. Maines,
Yes.
Mrs. Dunaway,
No.
Mrs. Drum,
Yes.
Mrs. Heatherly,
Yes.
Mrs. Zakor.
Yes.
Okay, motion is approved. All right, next is state consent special needs request. Approval of the resolution requiring state consent and special needs approval to issue bonds of the school district an amount not to exceed and be submitted the question of such bond to the electors. So
Just
is
to let
that
you know, the
the
dollar
money?
amount is currently not included, as we will have to discuss that.
Okay,
We were just waiting to see what happened on the storm shelter, so now that we know that we are not going to include it, we can discuss the dollar amount, stick it in here.
So this is a discussion item, or are we going to vote at the end of this? Do we need a motion to
We will-
open up this?
We,
discussion?
yes, let's
I'll
motion.
I'll move to open the discussion.
okay,
I'll second.
okay. Motion to open discussion by Mrs. Heatherly and seconded by Mr. Maines. And this is to discuss the dollar amount to be determined for the bond.
So, Mr. Moran, did you have anything to add for that on the numbers?
Just as, again, if we were looking at adding the storm shelter at 90, if not, it's recommended 88, that would be the top end. And then once we get all the information on LFIs and the voting language, we will look at what the actual number is. This is a not to exceed amount. This isn't the language that will be on the ballot or could be on the ballot. This is just the maximum amount that the special needs need. The state needs in order for us to proceed.
Can we modify the motion then to state 88 million, the amount?
Yep, if someone would like to move to modify the motion, we will do that.
I would like to make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Maines and second by Mrs. Heatherly to put 88 into the to be determined amount. $88 million.
So this is a resolution that we're gonna vote on with these terms that we're specifying right now. To move forward, to put it on to the March.
This is not the ballot.
This is to enter into an agreement with the OFCC.
It's not even that.
Okay, I'll just.
This is a,
Yeah.
so all government agencies are limited by the amount of debt that they can take on.
Yeah.
It's, I believe it's, yeah, the debt threshold limit, I believe is 10%.
And it goes by millage too, whatever.
I believe it's 10% of the valuation of the district. And so we're in the mid 500,000 or $500 million range. So mid 50 million is what we're supposed to be able to take out. They call it a special needs designation because we are working with OFCC, and we are going to go above that amount, but it's just a procedural thing because we're working with an OFCC project. At first, we were told that we probably wouldn't even need to do this because OFCC is involved, but Mr. Moran said, I want to have this. I want to make sure that we have all the T's crossed and the I's dotted. I don't want anything to come back on us and say, you didn't do something you needed to. So Mr. Stout's office put this document together for us and said this is what you would need to file with the Board of Education or is it the Board of Elections? Or this goes to the state level.
Yeah.
And I think this has to be done 120 days before the election. So I think there's a November 20th deadline to do that. So we're just crossing the T and dotting the I.
So we're looking to vote on this in March,
Yeah, it would go on the
March-
ballot in March.
March 2024,
We
yeah.
discussed the timeline at the last board meeting. Mr. Shaw provided a handout and it was included with the board docs documentation on when we needed to hit certain targets. So we need to have, so after this resolution passes, we'll submit this to the state. And then we will move forward with the first resolution for placing an item on the ballot. And that is the resolution requesting the county auditor's office to certify what kind of millage this would be for the levy. And then once we get that back, we would then proceed to place the levy on the ballot as well as file some final paperwork with the state as well.
When you said you will work with the county auditor, what time frame are you talking about?
They usually, we'll have our meeting, I'll send them the first resolution. They usually take a week to turn that document around, calculate everything and give it back to us with what the ballot language should include. if we are not in crunch time at the moment, but if we were in crunch time, I know the county auditor's office has worked with other districts they could turn something around in a day if they had to. But you cannot approve both resolutions at the same meeting.
Right.
There has to be a gap in between the two resolutions being approved.
So in your crystal ball, once you send the special needs to OFCC, that gets checked off. Now, where are we? What's your prediction time-wise? What are we in mid-November, end of November?
The first resolution, I believe, was scheduled, I think Aaron's pulling up the calendar, but I believe the first resolution was scheduled for the November 20th board meeting.
Yeah.
And then I believe that we wanted to.
We only have one more meeting in December. We don't have a work session.
There's no work session, I
There is in
believe,
December.
Yeah, there's
Oh, there is a
December
work
5th.
session?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we got rid of that one.
so, yeah.
December.
Yeah, so we have meetings. If we don't have a meeting, we'd have to call a special meeting. If we don't have enough meetings in time, we would call a special meeting for that. But I believe we have things in place right now so that we can meet all of the deadlines to meet that March deadline. But ballot.
So the final vote to place a project on the March 2024 ballot for this district is when? To meet that,
December 20th.
okay,
Yeah, that has to be at the Board of Elections by December 20th.
okay.
And that's on that time schedule. Last day to file resolution certificate with the Board of Elections is December 20th. Is our board meeting on the 18th?
And just as an FYI, if that date got missed for some reason, then you could no longer be on the March ballot, you'd have to go to the next
May.
May.
I don't believe there is a mail.
Because of the
be November.
primary.
Be
Oh.
November,
And
So it'd be
then-
November.
Then you'd be in November because you
Okay.
can't do one in August due to the,
okay.
that's only for emergency operations. And
And
this is very similar to the renewal that we did it in June. Went to the auditors, got it confirmed, passed it in July in order to have it on the.
Thanks for staying on top of it. That's good.
Yeah.
Dave's.
We're pointing fingers at each other. Any other discussion?
No.
Any questions?
No, I always appreciate your responses, Dave.
He's ready.
You're always
I
in command.
try.
You're in command. We like that.
He's ready.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
An encyclopedia of information over there.
Absolutely.
So I believe that the vote currently on the floor is to modify the original resolution
Mhm.
to include $88 million as the not to exceed threshold in
Yes.
the special needs for consent approval.
Yes.
With that, Maines and Heatherly?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Maines,
Yes,
Mrs. Heatherly,
Yes,
Mrs. Drum,
Yes.
Mrs. Dunaway,
Yes.
Mrs. Zakor.
Yes.
And then with that, we would just approve the original motion as amended
Yes.
with the
Yeah.
same.
As amended.
Okay.
You
I think we'll be.
read it again.
We'll just, if you would like to, and include the 88 million
Yes.
instead,
I will do that in 1 second. I'm reloading it real quick.
sure. I didn't update it to say
Okay,
88.
that's fine. Now I'm gonna read it. Okay, so, the motion is to approve the approval of resolution requesting state consents and special needs approval to issue bonds of the school district in the amount not to exceed 88 mil. And then to submit the questions of such board to the electors. Ugh.
I'd just like to clarify, you said 88 mil.
Yeah, it
I'm
should
gonna
be
say
million.
$88 million.
Sorry, $88 million.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same
88
thing.
Sorry,
million could
my
be
bad.
something
Yeah,
different.
so that'd be 500 million.
And not
500 million.
But it's set to.
I'll just do it again.
Such bond, not board.
Did I say board too?
I think so.
Oh my gosh, sorry, I'm so
Okay,
sorry.
wait, let's hit reset.
All she needs, all you need is,
Reset.
yeah, in an amount not to exceed, just start of that part, yeah,
Okay.
88 million.
It's okay. I thought it was.
Yeah,
I'll do
You're
it.
good, yep.
At this time, we're going to vote on the motion to approve the approval of resolution requesting state consents and special needs approval to issue bonds of the school district in the amount not to exceed 88 million and to submit the question of such bond to the electors.
Perfect. But the tongue twister, it's a tongue twister.
There's a lot of words in there.
Mr. Mays,
Yes.
Mrs. Heatherly,
Yes.
Mrs. Drum,
Yes.
Mrs. Dunaway,
No.
Mrs. Zakor.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
There we go.
Okay. At this time,
I have one comment.
oh yeah,
I thought that we were going to add the second read of the policies at this meeting. Did I misunderstand that?
That's what I thought we talked about. That's what.
I don't think I thought we were gonna move that to the next board.
It's not an
meeting.
emergency though. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it's not
not
an
like a time crunch.
emergency.
thing,
I know,
so.
but I mean,
There was a reason that we were doing that because. And
that the bond,
You didn't say it so much better
the
than me.
reason was because there was a bylaw that you needed 4 to get.
Yes.
But it passed tonight with
But
4, so
it-
that,
it
that,
passed
that
tonight with
emergency's
4,
off
so
the
this
table.
is what we're finding.
Yeah,
So the
we
bond,
can't add it now.
voting on the bond would need to
Yeah.
have 4
And
votes.
it passed. so
We're voting on that, we'll be voting on that before the actual.
Yeah.
Well, I
process.
understand, but I'm just validating
I
that
understand,
Joanne
yes.
had the same, we're not imagining things.
No, you're not imagining things.
Okay, thank you.
No.
At my age, I need to clarify that. It's my truth tonight.
No, you're not imagining.
You're only 25.
Yeah,
There's no vacancy for it tonight.
Yeah.
And I'm not even on medication, so.
You were last time.
Oh, and,
You were last time.
oh, and,
You were last time for sure.
okay, if there's no other discussion,
Motion to adjourn.
well, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, that's Mrs. Dunaway,
I'll second.
second by Mrs. Heatherly.
We don't even need to call it if there's an,
Yeah.
unless there's an objection.
Not anybody
You
object?
don't need to vote.
All right, we're done.
You don't need to vote.
The time is now.
To form a-
Yes, 6:16 p.m.
Thank you all.
It's a lot to remember.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, period. Especially when you have someone who.
Don, I hate that you had to come out in the cold tonight.
Oh, I don't mind.
It was not easy 2 years.